There should be a file of some size, and we need to see it.
That's circus material, George. I can only deliver from the minister.
I know that look, George. I'm breaking into the circus, am I? Playing burglar Bill.
If you wouldn't mind, Peter, and while you're enjoying yourself, I shall visit Oxford to look up an old and invaluable friend.
Please, don't take any unnecessary risks.
Flush. Stop it! Stop it, boy. It's only a dunderhead. Flush, shut up. George, smiling. Oh, you lovely, darling man. You haven't come to sell me a Hoover. You're my gorgeous George.
Connie.
Oh, George. Oh. Oh. Jingle, darling, could you possibly make it tomorrow? Oh, don't be cross, Jingle. It isn't often my oldest lover comes to see me. Oh, George, if only I'd seen you first. I'll give you a whole hour, all to yourself. Honestly, I will, darling. my dunderheads. I will teach. Don't know why. Oh, George. Of all the lovely, darling men I ever knew, he walked flush. Did you see his shoes? Oh, bless you, darling. God bless. Did he walk alone, Flush? Not accompanied, were we?
Quite alone, Connie.
So, what does George want from Connie, the bad boy?
Her memory. To go over some very old ground, Connie.
Hear that, Flush? First they chuck us out with an old bone, then they come begging to us. I was the best head of research the circus ever had. Everyone knew that. And what did they say the day they gave me the chop? That personnel cow. You're losing your sense of proportion, Connie. It's time you got out into the real world. Well, I hate the real world. I like the circus and my lovely boys.
Polyakov. Alexei Alexandrovich Polyakov, Cultural Attaché, Soviet Embassy, London.
Born March the 3rd, 1922, in the Ukraine. Graduate of Leningrad State University. Height 5'10". Colour of eyes green, colour of hair black. Married, but unaccompanied by wife. And a 6-cylinder Carla-trained hood, if ever I saw one. But don't tell Percy Alaline or Toby Esterhazy. Oh, no. Alexei Alexandrovich was as pure as the driven snow. He was Purcell White, wasn't he, Flush? And Connie's an old silly, because if she doesn't lay off and do as she's told, she'd have to pack her bags and go.
He's come alive. Polyakov, just as you predicted.
Of course he has. Of course he has. I knew it in my bones. The day he arrived, I thought, hello, I'm going to have some fun with you. Tough as a button. Cultural attaché, balls. Army written all over him. But not declared, George. Not a mention. Oh, he had a lovely voice. Mellow like yours. I used to play the tapes over and over just to bathe in it. Bottom picture, too. I just know. Not that we ever caught him at it. We might have done if Tobe had played along and offered him a bum or two, but Tiny Tobe wouldn't. 8 years. I watched Pretty Polly for 8 years. Then last Remembrance Day, I got him. There he was, that smashing November morning at the wreath laying, and we photographed his medals. 2 gallantry and 4 campaign. Oh, yes. Alex Polyakov was a star soldier, just as I'd told them, and not a word. So I said to Toby, listen, you two-faced ferret. Ego has got the better part of cover, and that's nothing new. Now will you turn Pretty Polly inside out for me, because Connie's little hunch has turned up trumps.
And what did Toby Esterhazy say?
Oh, I got the dead fish voice. Tell Percy Alaline, Percy's in charge.
And then?
Not every ex-warrior's a Carla agent, says Percy. I said, listen, Percy, Polyakov's running an English mole. So I get the rude letter. Stop it or else. So I wrote at the bottom, yes, repeat, no. So, here we are. Flush and me. Please kiss me, George. Hey-ho, halcyon days. Did I start the landslide, George?
You were always dead right, Connie.
And is George now picking up the pieces?
Something of the sort.
Poor loves. Trained to empire. Trained to rule the waves. Englishmen could be proud then. They could, George. All gone. Taken away. Bye-bye, world. If it's bad, George, don't come back. Promise? I want to remember you just as you were. My lovely, lovely boys. Promise.
The pages have been removed with a razor blade. No mention whatever of Ricky Tarr's cables from Lisbon. No Irina, no Boris, no Tar. There's a note scribbled on the next page which says all inquiries to head of London station. It's in Toby Esterhazy's handwriting. The janitor's attendance list has also been removed. Nothing to tell us who was duty officer that night, or even who was in the building.
Connie's appraisal matches the story Irina gave Ricky Tarr. The implications, the indications, are that Carla has managed to build himself a cadre of senior men placed about the globe who work directly and exclusively to him at Moscow Center. Polyakov is Carla's executant in London.
You offer that as a working hypothesis?
Operation Witchcraft, that vital flow of Russian intelligence which happily came Alaline's way. Supplementary estimates to the Treasury. Special accommodation in London. Wider exploitation. See also secret annex. May I see it?
The minister keeps it in his personal safe.
Do you know the combination?
Certainly not.
What's the title of this unobtainable document?
It doesn't have one. It's highly secret, and we've done everything humanly possible to keep the readership to a minimum.
The supplier of the witchcraft material is our old friend Merlin. Does the file give his identity?
Oh, don't be ridiculous. The minister wouldn't want to know, and Alaline wouldn't want to tell him.
What does wider exploitation mean?
I refuse to be interrogated, George. I entirely fail to see why I should waste your time pursuing this line of inquiry. By rights, I should have you specially cleared before I let you see any of this.
Witchcraft cleared?
Yes, George.
Do we have a list of people who've been cleared in that way?
I hope you're not going fey, George. Please, stick with the primary problem. The mole, Gerald, instead of rootling around in extraneous matters. This is no time to be whimsical.
Oh, you off. You won't forget Prideaux, will you? Anything at all you can get on him, even scraps would help.
He has a point, George. Witchcraft and Merlin. Polyakov and the mole. Prideaux getting himself shot up on some wild goose chase of controls in the rural charms of Czechoslovakia. You think it all connects?
I think, Peter, I'm not the first to make this journey of exploration. I believe Control was here before me. He might even have made the full distance. But for the bullets in Prideaux's back, There are 3 of them and Alaline. Control's words. He meant Operation Witchcraft, of course. Merlin's minders, or inventors, or programmers, or marionettes, or what?
Why was Control always so hostile to Alaline? Percy wasn't a complete fool.
Percy can flirt, Peter. And Control hadn't reckoned on the power of the Alaline lobby.
Who were they?
Golfers. Golfers and conservatives. That's what Control said to me. I got a call from Control one day, very sharp, very combative. George, come in here or there'll be bloodshed.
Brother Percy's trying to twist my tail. Take a look at this nonsense. Top-level Soviet naval dispatch. Specially prepared for the Soviet High Command. Isn't it, Percy? An appreciation of a naval exercise in the Mediterranean or Black Sea, of which our sailors have been screaming for details. Haven't they, Percy?
Topicality is always suspect.
Yes, George. Would you like to repeat that for Percy?
Who made the translation?
God made it, didn't he, Percy? Don't ask him anything he won't tell you.
Shore-to-sea strike power, radio activation of enemy alert procedures. This is hardly my territory.
Don't let that worry you. Total ignorance of subject matter doesn't bother Percy.
Whose initials are these?
Zaroff, Admiral, Black Sea Fleet.
What do our own evaluators say?
They've not seen it, and what's more, they're not going to.
However, my brother in Christ Lily of Naval Intelligence has passed a preliminary opinion, has he not, Percy? Percy showed it to him last night. Over a pink gin, was it, Percy?
At the Admiralty.
Note that, George. They battened down the hatches and bunged up the portholes for Percy. Brother Lily telephoned me half an hour ago to congratulate me. He believes this material to be neither a plant nor chicken feed, but genuine gold dust. And he seeks our permission to... Percy's, I suppose I should say, to apprise his fellow sea lords of its conclusions.
Quite impossible. It's for his eyes only, at least for another couple of weeks.
It's so hot, you see, George.
But where does it come from? Who's the case officer?
You'll enjoy this.
Source Merlin has access to the most sensitive levels of Soviet policy making. We've dubbed his product witchcraft.
And ask him who we are, George.
Merlin is the fruit of a long cultivation by certain people in the service. People who are bound to me as I am to them. People who are not at all entertained by the failure rate about this place. Been too much blown, too much lost, wasted, too many scandals. I've said so many times I might as well have talked to the wind for all the heed he'd paid me.
He means me, George.
The ordinary principles of tradecraft and security have gone to the wall in this service. It's all divide and rule, stimulated from the top.
Me again.
We're losing our livelihood, our self-respect. We've had enough. We've had a bellyful, in fact. Please? Thank you.
And like everybody who's ever had enough, he wants more. This service. Percy Alaline would sell his mother for a knighthood, and this service for a seat in the House of Lords.
Suppose Merlin's genuine.
Suppose Merlin would pick Percy.
It seems somebody has.
I gather Percy's under the impression he'd picked himself and a whole team. You're sure he left you out, are you, George?
What are you going to do about it?
Depends on it. I'll wait for it to show itself. In the meantime, I see nothing to deal with except Percy's envious eye on my chair. And I've put my thumb in that optic before.
George, little Tattle Tuesday again?
No, Percy.
Maybe? Right. This time.
Oh, Lord. I thought it would be half over by now. You've got a rabbit to pull out of your hat today, Percy. You've got that Britain can make it look about you. Very intimidating. Should we have brought our sandwiches?
I'll be brief, Bill, so long as I'm not obstructed.
I'm sorry. Traffic. Should have walked.
I think you and Percy between you are contriving to keep me off the streets.
They're all here now, sir. Would you go in, please, gentlemen?
How often do I have to emphasize the extreme sensitivity of the source of the witchcraft product? I must insist there is no existing method of Whitehall distribution to meet the case. Do I have to remind you of that disgraceful incident when an undersecretary, albeit overworked, so be it, but the fact remains the man actually gave his dispatch box key to his personal assistant. We simply cannot afford that kind of ludicrous insecurity when we are handling witchcraft. Now, I have already discussed the problem with Lilly of Naval Intelligence, and he is prepared to put at our disposal a special main reading room in the Admiralty main building, where witchcraft material can be seen by our customers and watched over by a senior janitor of this service.
Wouldn't you rather have Securicor?
The reading room will be known for cover purposes as the conference room of the Adriatic Working Party, the AWP room for short.
Thank you.
Customers with reading rights will not have passes, since these can be too accessible, like keys. Instead, they will appear on a special list with their photographs, and they will identify themselves personally to my janitor.
Who's janitor, Percy?
Well, he's already got his own personal wizard. The odd commissionaire seems modest enough domestic star.
Allowing that all this is necessary,
Essential.
my minister will want to know a lot more about the cost. He'll want it to appear to be borne by the Admiralty, even if you have to reimburse covertly.
Yes, of course. The reading room will have to be extensively rebuilt, to begin with. Now, I would like to call your attention to the Foreign Office comment on the most recent witchcraft product. And I quote, "This document sheds an extraordinary sidelight on Soviet aggressive thinking."
Does that mean they like it, Percy?
Do you like it, Bill? It's from the very heart of your territory.
Buying their way in with counterfeit money. Tell them that. Tell them anything. I need time. There are 3 of them, and I'll ally. Sweat them, George. Tempt them, bully them, any damn thing. Give them whatever they eat. I need time.
Prompt as ever, Mr. Smiley.
How are your children, Toby?
Doing terribly well, thank you, George.
The boy's at Westminster, have I got that right? Your daughter's probably left school by now, has she?
First-year medical student. Loves it.
Good for her. Toby, I have to ask you this. Sorry to come prying. Your department's a long way behind with its worksheets, 2 months almost. Now, why is that? It's not lamplighter's style.
Oh, we're not infallible, George. 2 months. Well, I won't question it. Is it terribly important? Of course, if you say it is, then I'll see it's dealt with, of course.
The question is, why, Toby? Let me be blunt.
Not your style, George. I'm allowed to say that, surely. I am, after all, one of your oldest protégés. Vienna was a long time ago.
You haven't perhaps been using your staff for any special jobs lately, have you? Either at home or abroad. I mean the kind of special jobs which, for good reasons of security, you haven't felt able to mention in your returns.
Who would I do that for, George? You know, in my book, that's completely illegal.
Well, if Percy Allaline, for example, ordered you to do something and not recorded, that would put you in a difficult position.
What sort of something?
Clear a foreign letterbox, prime a safe house, watch someone's back, spike an embassy. It's all lamplighter work. If Percy told you to do it, you might quite reasonably assume he was acting on instructions from the 5th floor.
I do like the service, George. I may be sentimental about it, but I prefer to stay in it. Now, you understand that, you of all people. My problem is promotion. I mean, the absence of it. I have so many years' seniority that I feel actually quite embarrassed when these young fellows ask me to take orders from them.
Who, Toby? Which young fellows? Roy Bland? Percy? Would you call Percy young? Who?
When you're overdue for promotion and working your fingers to the bone, anyone looks young who's above you on the ladder.
Have you been taking orders?
You know the line of command, George.
Perhaps control could move you up a few rungs.
Well, you know, actually, I'm not sure he's able to these days. Are you?
So what's the deal?
There isn't a deal, Roy, really. It's just that Control feels the present situation is unhealthy. He doesn't like to see you getting mixed up with a cabal. Frankly, nor do I.
So what's the deal?
What do you want?
What about 5,000 quid out the reptile fund for starters?
And a house and a car.
And the kid to eat it.
Your father would turn in his grave.
Let him rotate. The old commie thug. If there's no deal, George, you'll have to tell Control he can get stuffed. I've paid, you see, you know that. I don't know what the hell I've bought with it, but I've paid a packet. Poznan, Budapest, Prague, back to Poznan. Have you ever been to Poznan? Sofia, Kiev, 2 bloody nervous breakdowns and still between the shafts. That's big money at any age, even yours.
Oh, no one can deny that, Roy.
And you brought me in, remember? If you think I'm going to the bad, you've only got yourself to blame. You're an educated sort of a swine. An artist is a bloke who can hold 2 fundamentally opposing views and still function. Who dreamed that one up?
Scott Fitzgerald.
Well, Fitzgerald knew a thing or two. And I'm definitely functioning. As a good socialist, I'm going where the money is. As a good capitalist, I'm sticking with the revolution because if you can't beat it, spy on it. Don't look like that, George. It's the name of the game these days. You scratch my conscience, I'll drive your jag, right?
No. Did you get that from Hayden? Is that one of Bill's jokes about materialist England? The pigs in clover society?
And you like it?
Not much. Of course there are competitive and acquisitive instincts in Western society. But they are offset against other concerns which you won't find in...
Poznan, Budapest, Kiev, Sofia. Tell me all about it, George. I'm just saying that's England now, man. All you have to do is look out the bloody window.
You're seen with Bill Hayden a great deal these days.
Jealous, George? You've got his job. Your control's High Chamberlain. What more do you want? Long as it lasts.
You say you write the reports.
I thought that was Roy's job.
No, Bland makes the translations. You write the covering reports. They're typed on your machine. The material's not cleared for typists.
Percy Alaline won't do. Is that the premise? Which means that Merlin won't do either. Poor old Control. He isn't a pickle. Merlin would do if he were my source, wouldn't he? If dazzling bloody Bill here potted along and said he looked a whacking big fish and wanted to play him alone and sod the expense, what would happen then? Control would say, that's very nifty of you, Bill boy. You do it just the way you want, Bill boy. Have some filthy jasmine tea. He'd be giving me a medal now, instead of sending you snooping round corridors. We used to be rather a classy bunch. Why are we so vulgar these days?
He thinks Percy's on the make.
So he is. I also want to be head boy. And Toby and Roy have designs on your spot. Since when was ambition an offense in our beastly outfit? Is Anne at home? Sent her out to play while you grill your old buddy.
Who runs him, Bill?
Percy? Who do you think? Carla runs him. Stands out a mile. Lower class bloke with upper class sources. Must be a bounder.
Bill?
Percy is sold out to Carla. Only possible explanation. Percy is our house mo.
I meant who runs Merlin? Who is Merlin? What's going on?
This is a callow, isn't it? It's nice, very nice.
Bill.
Doesn't anyone think my nose should be out of joint? I'm supposed to be in charge of the Russian target. Given it my best years. Set up networks, talent spotters, all mod cons. You chaps on the top floor have forgotten what it's like to run an operation where it takes you 3 days to post a letter and you don't even get an answer for your trouble.
That's hardly fair to Control. You've heard him 100 times on how he detests the glamour boy agents who hog the budget, how he hates miracles if they put the bread and butter networks out of focus.
It's a pity he doesn't have the same hatred of failure. Has he lived with it too long? Face it, George. It's Percy. Percy's success. It's throne control. And me, a bit. Trouble is, my networks haven't been good enough. This is new. I fancy this very much.
Anne gave it me.
Making amends?
Probably.
Must have been quite a sin. How is she? George, cut the cord. Get away from Control. He's cut you out of his life for weeks on end, dispatching you about with errands a probationer could handle. What's he doing up there? He's been going through files of old circus folk heroes from year -1, half of them under the earth already, sniffing out the dirt to see who was pink, who was a queen. He's given us all up, hasn't he?
I don't think that's true.
Senile paranoia. Control's going potty. And he's also dying. It's just a question of which gets him first.
And within 6 months of Bill Hayden's diagnosis, Control was indeed dead.
And what killed him? Operation Witchcraft or Operation Testify?
Neither. Let's not be melodramatic. Control would disapprove. He died of old age, a little early. But Testify destroyed his function in life, which was a form of murder. I don't have nearly enough on Testify, Peter. Would you please,
Of course, George.
Telephone for you, sir. Ever such a rough voice. Says it's someone from your garage, and I can quite believe it.
Right.
Your rude mechanic has some bad news for you. Personally, I find mechanics are bad news, by and large.
Which phone, Alvin?
The one on the left.
Well, at least get onto the head office today and find out when they can supply the damn thing. Hang on a minute. I think I got the number. Alvin, sling that bag across for me, will you, please?
I will, sir. There you go. open it for you?
Oh, thanks. Right, are you ready? The number you want is 437-6299.
It seems to be going according to plan.
Thank you.
But it does sound jumpy. He might have overdone it a bit there. He was very loud. I've seen it happen before. Tough ones who crack at 40. You lock it all away, pretend it isn't happening, and all of a sudden you find them at the desks, the tears pouring on the blotter. I thought I ought to say what's on my mind.
I think Peter will manage. You heard something about his murderous assignment in French North Africa, I suppose?
Something. Whispers.
Peter was overmatched and he lost. His agents were hanged. No one recovers entirely from that sort of thing. That is, I wouldn't trust a man who did.
Right, bag, please.
Peter, I am sorry to disturb you, but we have a tiny crisis. Percy Allaline would like a word with you. Quite an urgent word. Can you come now?
Of course, Toby. Have you been waiting? Didn't you tell Mr. Esterhazy where I was?
We've only just got here, Peter. Your office told us you were doing a spot of deviling. Only, Percy is anxious to speak to you now, you see.
Alwyn, there's a midday shuttle to Brixton, isn't there?
Yes.
You might give transport a buzz and ask them to take that thing over for me, will you?
Will do, sir. Will do.
Percy wants to consult you. Peter? Please.
What's up, Pete?
So she put them on again.
Well now, young Peter Gwillem, welcome to my house, about which you've been making calls, I hear. Are you lonely in the Brixton outposts? Tired of chasing the local virgins, if there are any in Brixton, which I would doubt? If you'll excuse my freedom, Mo. You do know that Mo Delaware is our new head of research, do you? Man with message and cleft stick does reach Brixton, does he?
Barring the monsoon.
I hear you've been hobnobbing with the late lamented Ricky Tarr, formerly of your section, dispatched by you to Lisbon, and since then listed by this service as a defector. How is he?
That's right, Chief. Ricky and I have tea at Fortnum's every afternoon. Jasmine.
Peter Gwilym, you may not be aware of this, but I am possessed of an extremely forgiving nature. I positively seethe with goodwill. All I require from you is the matter of your discussion with Tar. I do not ask for his head, or any other part of his offensive anatomy, and I will restrain my impulse personally to strangle him, or you. I would even go so far as to consider bringing you back into the palace from hateful Brixton, where presently you linger in well-earned obscurity.
In that case, I can't wait for him to turn up.
And there's a free pardon for your friend Ricky, until I get my hands on him.
I'll tell him that word for word. He'll be thrilled.
I'm very disappointed in you, young Peter. I pay you honest money, and you stab me in the back. I consider that extremely poor reward for keeping you alive, against the entreaties of my advisors, I may tell you. Let us begin again. If you won't give me a straight answer, perhaps you'll unburden to somebody more persuasive. Roy.
Ricky Tar's got a daughter, hasn't he?
Yes, calls her Danny.
Talk about her a lot?
He told me he was fond of her. That's all I know.
What the hell are you shrugging at us like that for? I'm accusing you of playing hooky behind my back with a damn defector from your own damn section, of playing damn fool parlor games when you don't know the stakes, and all you do is shrug at me. There's a law, Gwilym, against consorting with enemy agents. Do you want me to throw the book at you?
I haven't seen him! Who's playing games? Not me. You are, so get off my back.
Who's Danny's mother?
Eurasian girl. But Tar likes to think she passes for full European. And the child.
12 years old, long blonde hair, brown eyes, slim. Is that Danny?
It could be.
So, if I told you that Danny and her mother were due to arrive in London 3 days ago on a direct flight from Tunis, I take it you would share our perplexity?
Yes, I would.
And you'd keep your mouth shut when we let you out of here.
It isn't ordinary flight information, Peter. The source is very private.
Ultra sensitive, in fact, Peter.
In that case, Toby, I'll try and keep my mouth ultra shut.
So, what do you make of it, young Peter? Come on. You were his boss, guide, philosopher, friend. Tell me why Ricky Tar's in London.
You didn't say that. You said his girl and his kid were expected.
Don't be obtuse, man. Where little Danny goes, there goes Tar. Except he'd move first and have his impedimenta follow. Yes?
That would be favourite. All right. Tar was supposed to be sitting in Moscow, and now he's supposed to be back here on the Russian payroll. But why is it all so hot? What kind of plant can he be when we know everything about him? Down to his last attack of swine fever, from which he's only partially recovered, in my view. Excuse my freedom, Mo. I'm sorry, but what kind of plant is that?
Well, never mind what sort. Muddying pools, poisoning wells, maybe that damn sort. Pulling the rug out. Now, listen. Just you remember this. At the first peep, the first whisper of Tar or his lady or his wee bairn, young Peter Gwilym, you come to one of us grown-ups. Anyone you see at this table, but not another damn soul. The name on the passport is Poole. P-O-O-L-E. All three of them. Tara Tildy's woman, so we understand. In case of difficulties, she should come to you.
Sign that, Peter, would you?
Stupid bloody cabaret. Percy gets more insufferable every day.
You sopping snail! Peter!
Tar, that bastard Tar!
Peter, slow down. Slow down.
The file on Testify seemed a bit thin. I hope it was worth the sweat.
Ricky Tar's not lied to us, Peter, not in any material way. He's simply done what agents the world over do, failed to tell us the whole story. On the other hand, he has been rather clever.
Are you actually pleased with him?
Well, yes. We now know that Source Merlin works to Moscow Center, because that's where Merlin's information on Ricky Tar must have come from. From Carla.
To be